Hi, Patrick.
Nice to see you.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm really good.
What a great place you
My
got there.
Roman holiday. What do you say?
I said, what a great place you got there.
It is. The thing that I keep saying is I wish I had people to share it with.
Well, you are right now.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. How's everything going over there?
Good, good. When are you moving on to another part of Italy?
On
Like
Monday.
Florence?
On
What?
Monday, I go to Florence to begin this week-long yoga retreat. So I probably won't be teaching much next week. Like this week actually concludes the end of our August Journey to the Peak. And Shauna and I have decided that the start date for September Journey to the Peak is going to be September 10th, because we can still get 4 weeks in there. And that will give people some space, over Labor Day weekend and school beginning and everything. So you'll probably get an email blast from us about that over the next couple of days. But yeah, I'll be largely offline next week because it's the retreat with Raghunath and Kastuvidas.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, we'll miss it. But I'll use the recordings.
Use the
So,
recordings. Yeah.
yeah.
That's what they're there for. I'm excited that the people who have been practicing since April, you've got like 50 plus classes in a library, basically. It's kind of cool. I use Shauna's restorative practices all the time, and I just need a good restore because she's just like one of the best yoga teachers I've ever met. But her restorative practices, and that's really one of the things I'm learning is so healing for me and like what my body needs right now. Yin and restorative, like get to the other side of the spectrum, and relax. So anyways, why don't we go ahead and talk about our yoga sutra for today? I'm so excited that we're arriving at sutras that I actually have some familiarity with. And the funny thing is I don't even have familiarity with the sutra per se, but I have familiarity with the concepts that they're teaching. And so I always do a little backtrack, kind of last week on the Yoga Sutras, we've basically been building up to the 8 limbs of the yoga practice and how this practice is really a process of purification. And that's so much of what we talked about last week. If you look over here to 228, it's a process of purification. It causes the dwindling of the kleshas, so the misperception or the distorted perception becomes less distorted. We start to see things more clearly. That's viveka. And then what they're saying is that like we walk these steps, these 8 steps to get to samadhi so that we can experience viveka and then bring it back into the world, right? Viveka is that awareness to see clearly. And then at the bottom here, Kaivalya is to really live in an embodied way from that place of samadhi. And so here's 229. If you have a familiarity with the 8 limbs of yoga, this will sound very familiar to you. Yama, niyamasana, pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, samadhyo, stavangani. All right. And they're saying that the 8 limbs of yoga are as follows. Yama, deprogramming mental patterns. Niyama, reprogramming oneself for living in homeostasis. Asana is balancing the body so it is able to be still. Pranayama is controlling and calming the breath in order to calm the mind. Pratyahara is sense withdrawal. Dharana is concentration. Dhyana is effortless concentration, and samadhi is absorption in the now. I want to read this next section. I read it earlier and found it very helpful, but I wonder if, I don't know, like Laura, do you want to read this first little section or paragraph so we're not just listening to me talk?
Sure. You mean the commentary?
Yeah, the commentary.
Sure. How to approach the 8 limbs. The 8 limbs are both a sequential system and a holistic practice. The linear development from asana through each limb of practice to samadhi is designed to take the yogi step by step from the state of avidya to the state of samadhi, and from samadhi back to a state of viveka. See chart 4 from avidya to viveka via the 8 stages of yoga on page 53. There is an internal logic to moving from one limb to the next in the given order. The yamas and niyamas help us to approach asana with the proper intention for practice. Asana prepares the body for working with the breath. Quiet and controlled breath helps us to withdraw the senses, which helps us focus the mind, and so on. But the 8 limbs can also.
I think that must be a typo. It must mean, but the 8 limbs can
Yeah.
also be applied.
Yes, be applied to as a holistic practice in which all the limbs function simultaneously and synergistically.
Cool.
From this
Cool.
holistic
Does
perspective,
anyone else want to
that's
read?
it.
Oh, sorry
Yeah.
to cut you off. Joanne or Brigitte, do either of you want to read? And it's okay if you don't.
No, thanks.
Oh. Cool. So I'll wrap us up because there's Sanskrit words and everything. That was great, Laura. Thank you. But basically, just to wrap so far what we've said, I love this idea that they're practiced both simultaneously and synergistically as well as sequentially. So there's a way that we can think about doing these 1, 2, 3, 4. But when I think about synergy and simultaneously, they're all kind of happening at the same time as well. And that to me is a real mastery of the practice, to be sort of having, it's like you want 2 feet steady on the ground. The 8 limbs, we have 8, and they're saying, get your 8 limbs planted into the ground so you can really start to operate and live from this place of embodied awareness. All right, so from this holistic perspective, the practices are done in the way that best suits the needs of the individual in order to evolve spiritually. That's huge. The 8 limbs are like a roadmap to samadhi. When you are traveling to a destination, you consult a map and plan a route. But then, when you actually are on the road, you may encounter circumstances such as traffic and detours. You might not immediately know which way to go. So you consult your map for alternative routes and you adjust your plan accordingly. The more you know the landscape, the easier it is to move through and avoid the trouble spots. How one uses the map of the 8 limbs depends on one's karma and where one is in the development of one's practice. All right, so I just want to pause there because the yoga practice is going to look a little bit different for each of us. And what he's saying here is that that's based on our karma. So based on all of our previous experiences, whether you want to take that to previous lives or just previous years of this life and this body that you're living in. And that's going to help you determine how you use the map of yoga. All right. So how one uses the map of the 8 limbs depends on one's karma and where one is in the development of one's practice. From the starting point of a vidya, one might need to spend time going from limb to limb in a prescribed order because it is not always clear what our karmic circumstances are. Once we have established our practice and developed some perspective or viveka, we might be able to quickly transcend a trouble spot and apply it to the limbs in more individualized and nuanced ways. Our unique karmic circumstances dictate where, how, and for how long we need to focus our effort. What the yoga practice looks like for each yogi is highly individual and changes over time. I just think that there's so much there. I'm so grateful for this teaching. It's showing me that yoga is really a way for me to orient myself towards the world and towards how I need to move forward to align myself more with higher truth and truer self. And it's something that we can fall back on. We talk about this in Journey to You all the time. Once we have established our practice and developed some perspective, we can more quickly transcend a trouble spot and apply the limbs in a more individualized and nuanced way. And for me, that's because what we do in Journey to You is a lot of work around bad habits and sort of moving away from the things that are no longer serving us. But then there becomes this weird little incubation period where you have an awareness of the quote unquote bad habit, but you keep doing it anyways. And what I see here is that they're also saying it's like once the practice is established, at least you know what to revert back to when it's time to revert back to it, right? Because otherwise it's like you don't even know that there's another option for a way that you're going to live your life other than the one that you're currently doing. And so this is really saying that there is a blueprint, there is a path, there is a map. We don't have to go through this life just having zero idea what's going on or where we are or why we're here. There's actually a blueprint that can point us towards our own wisdom, our own consciousness. And that's, I'll kind of wrap with this, but like, to me, that's the gold of it. The gold of it is it's a treasure that exists within us. We don't have to seek outside of our own self. Our experiences in the external will help to inform us, but ultimately it's self-contained. So yeah, any thoughts, questions, comments on that? And it's okay if not.
No, that really resonates with me because that's exactly how I feel from, with practicing with you and being in the journey. It's like you're not always there, but you start to recognize it more often, and you can be back there, and it's such a lovely safety net, and it's such an awareness that, it's a gift that you have given me with this process. So,
well, and I love how you say that. It's like, you may not be there, but at least you can point on the map and be like, oh, that's where there is. And I have a route to get back there when I need to, you know what I mean? And I'm definitely experiencing that here, you guys. Like, I'm on vacation. I'm doing some things I don't normally do, right? I'm eating some later dinners. I'm waking up feeling a little like, ooh, a lot of carbs, a lot of sugar, a lot of alcohol. And I'm watching myself, and I'm really trying to be self-compassionate and be like, okay, this is what this is. And I know how to get back when it's time to go back. So that's worth it.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah. Anyone else care to share around this?
I was just going to add just this little piece of that for me, watching my practice over time, and I've been practicing for a long time, it deepens and deepens and deepens. My yoga practice, my ability to, even just see what happens on the mat is the way the way I come to the world is the way, now it's a little different being, not being virtual. But anyway, the point of it is the practice, its ability to ground me, and the sutras. I wasn't even, the first 10 years I did yoga, I was only aware of the physical practice. It took me 10 years to even hear, oh, there's more here. And, I'm just saying as an example.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for sharing that, Laura. Cool. Let's go ahead and dive into our bodies. I'd love to invite us into a child's pose. You can shift into that as you feel called. And let's even just take the first like 10 to 15 breaths in this child's pose in any way that you need to. So maybe it's arms draped back along your side, palms facing up. Sometimes I get curious about like that teeter-totter between the forehead on the ground versus the hips on the heels. And eventually, it's like Laura was just saying, the practice gets deep enough that there comes a time when your forehead is on the floor and your hips are on the heels, no problem. But it's so beautiful to sometimes think back to where we started and to really appreciate the depth, the adventure, and the dynamism of our journey. If you haven't already, you can start to introduce a sound of ujjayi into your breath. So constricting through the back of the throat and sipping air in and expelling air out exclusively through the nose. And then from wherever you are, stretch your hands out further in front of you and let's wake up some of the muscles of the back. Lift the heels of your hands so that you're only on your fingertips, but then also lift your armpits, lift your arm bones, and activate your rhomboids, the muscles between your shoulder blades, until you can feel the scapula or your shoulder blades moving closer in towards the spine. So what's it like to really kind of lift through those elbows, lift through the armpits? If anything, the biceps are going to want to spin a little more to the sky, feeling into that external rotation of the arm bones. And I would say that the head is probably, it could be off the ground now. And feel your side body long. And walk your hands off to the right, trying to keep all that length that you built in your arms. And breathe into your left ribs here. Excuse me, walking back through center. And every time I lift my hand, I also feel the shoulder blade kind of squeezing into the back, into the spine a little more, and continue to walk the hands off to the left now. So there's a lot of activity, there's a lot of engagement through my arms, and that's all sourcing from the scapula. So it's sourcing even deeper in than where your arm bone meets your torso. It's like the wing bones. They connect all the way back. And then come back to the center. Really nice. Inhale, let's come forward, cow spine. Tuck toes, drop belly, lift heart, lift tail. Exhale, cat spine. Inhale, cow spine. Ride the wave of the breath. Exhale, cat spine. Good. Now really come with wrists underneath shoulders. Go ahead and flip your hands back behind you so your fingers point towards your knees. And I would love to invite us to do some kick your butt here. So every time you inhale, you suck your belly button up to your spine and you round everything. And on the exhale, you stick it out. And then you'll pick a pace that suits you. It could be slower than that. It could be faster than that. But I would invite you to make it a kriya. So make it a little bit percussive. And think, are you really sort of trying to get your belly button to touch your spine when you're sucking it up? And are you really sticking your belly out when you're sticking it out? And you're really trying to target your neck and your low back here. So upper body, lower body is trying to open up, as well as wrists, obviously, because they're still in this orientation. You can flip them if you need to, but the exercise is called kick your butt for a reason. You're trying to build some heat, build some fire, build some energy here. Okay, good, really good. Now flip your hands another way. You could just flip them so the fingers point back forward. If you want to do fingers in, you want to do one flipped, one not, that's fine. But now flip your feet. So move your left knee to the center of the mat and then lift your right leg and cross it outside of that. So what you do is you come to Gomukhasana the legs. All right. So I've just crossed my right knee outside my left knee, and I'm going to do it again. And I'm really trying to wake up through the entire vertical line of my spine here. Every time I do it, I feel some more muscles build sensation, some stagnation, move out. Decide how many more you want to do and then really commit to that amount. Maybe it's 10. Good, and then go ahead and stop. If you have 2 blocks near you, go ahead and grab them and put them close to your knees. What we're going to do is we're going to walk our hands back now and stand on our knees like so. This can be a bit much for the rotators and hip flexors, so sometimes it's nice to have 2 blocks that are stacked. If you don't need the blocks, you can interlace your fingers around your elbows and get a little more length in your spine here, but breathe. Really try to feel your center. You may check in with your posture. Is your chin jutting forward? Can you sort of wrap the belly and so you don't go fully into this arched position in the low back? Deep breath in. And exhale, go ahead and release that. Put your hands back down. Let's just cross to the other side. Last exercise here, do a different variation in the hands, but we stir the pot. So you actually use your pelvis to make circles. And I'll invite you to just notice which way you're going first. Like I'm going clockwise first. I feel that clockwise circle in my hips. And the teaching that Naveen Mishan offers around this is to actually imagine that your tailbone or your hips are cycling the entire globe. So you could visualize starting yourself off in New York. I'll start in Italy, and then go around the globe and picture the different countries that you're going over. Okay, over the Atlantic Ocean, across America, all the way across the Pacific. And to do that, you give yourself a mental map. So you can make the shape more round, more spherical. And when you're ready to reverse, really stir these pots. So this is the thing to do if you're feeling stagnant or stuck. You can really get things moving by stirring it up. And then when you're ready, you can walk the hands back. Last time like this, maybe you have your 2 blocks there, something for balance. Otherwise, interlace your hands behind your head in tripod position, and we'll do breath of the seasons. So every time you inhale, spring is rising. Exhale, you hold at the top for summer. I'm sorry, you hold at the top for summer. Exhale is fall, autumn energy. Expels from the body, and at the bottom, you're empty for winter, you hold. Inhale, it's spring. Hold at the top for summer. Exhale for fall. And hold at the bottom for winter. And just run this breath a couple of times so you can get that cyclical rhythm of the seasons back into your awareness, back into your body. And once you've done it twice, you can go ahead and release this, uncross the legs, and then let's come to downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Pedaling at the feet. And so, yeah, like one of the things we're talking about is looking at all these limbs, the yamas and the niyamas, so that they're working synergistically as well as sequentially. And if you don't know what they are yet, that's okay. Like that's what we're going to spend the next several weeks doing. Will probably be the next several months, actually, on yamas and niyamas and the 8 limbs. And if you do have an awareness of them, maybe you recognize how you're already doing it. How are you already carrying non-violence onto your mat in this moment? Practicing non-attachment, non-grasping, moderation. Lift your right leg to the sky. Okay, first come up high on the heel, come up high on the ball of the left foot, and then see if you can lift that right leg a little higher. And then descend the left heel however much feels okay for you. Keep pushing your shoulders towards your ears so you're really sliding the scapula into elevation here. Deep breath in. Now exhale, peel it open. Shoulders to ears, but if you want, you can look underneath your right armpit, Utkatasana. Grip the metacarpals and fingertips into the earth. And then inhale, lengthen and square off. And exhale, step your right foot outside your right hand. Good. Start to lean off to the left a little bit. If you want, you can touch your left knee down. I'm not going to do it for now, but curl your heart up and back now. Beautiful. As you take this. So you're kind of in a wide lunge in terms of this foot stepping outside the right hand, but continue to press into your outer right heel to feel the hips go up and back slightly as you peel the chest to the sky. And I'm even keeping this right arm in a cactus. You can do that if you want. Maybe stretch it up and over the ear. Good. Place your right hand down and walk the hands to the left. Let's go for Prasara to Patatanas, wide-legged forward fold. This is one thing I used to do a lot in a floor bar class. Incidentally, we worked on the floor doing this. This is the thing we started with. We'd be in this position, and if you want to look at the video, you can, but we would just like turn our pelvis a little bit side to side like this. And as you do that, keep looking, you'll see how it pulls. Just gently tugs on the hamstring attachment. And I say gently for a very specific reason, like you don't want to work too hard in that area. But it does, I think, help develop this beautiful awareness of the connectivity to muscle and bone in that part of your body. And then you could just slowly stop that and then stretch over your legs for another couple breaths. Really appreciate the time to be upside down here, letting the blood flow to the head. It's funny because so much of what we're doing here is targeted towards trying to get closer to these peak postures. But then the residual benefits, like the side effects of the practice, are also great things. Like, I think we should all try to reverse our blood flow like this, at least once a day. It's great for the circulatory system. And so you'll experience that in ways off the mat too. Okay, crawl the hands back to the front of the mat. Let's take a high crescent lunge. So when you're ready, and try to really trace the line from your right sitting bone down the outer right leg to the outer right heel. And can you feel how when you press into the outer right heel, it really activates something right there for you? Now squeeze your two legs together. Really feel your inner thighs turn on. Deep breath in. Exhale, hands frame the front foot. Keep the hips lifted for a moment, strong in the lunge. Strong in the legs. Try to wag your right sitting bone more behind you, like so, to less like that, more like that. Deep breath in, lengthen the neck. Exhale, touch the back knee down. Anjaneyasana, your variation. This is like my favorite pose right now because of all the walking that I'm doing. And I'm talking to 3 New Yorkers, so I'm sure that your hip flexors are also really appreciating the love that you're giving them. But walking is just like hip flexion after hip flexion after hip flexion. It's so fascinating. So it's so nice to stretch those guys out. Take a side bend, right hand down. That can be a block. If I had one, I'd be using it, but I chose not to travel with blocks. And then exhale, come forward to round down. Let's come to half split. Will be the last thing that we do here before going through a little flow. So use that inhale to pick your heart up, lengthen the sides of your body. Try to feel those rhomboids once again that we found earlier in child's pose. Retract them and then melt the heart a little closer to the leg. Okay, I lied. Let's do one more thing. Crawl the hands left, and we'll come into this gate pose variation. So you got to swivel on this left knee as well. In gate pose, you can either be here, keep your wrists under your shoulders. You can come down to your elbows. I think, Maxine, if you're watching a recording, we talked about this. Keep bent arms like spider fingers. But I want you to move the focus of the stretch to your right inner thigh. Press down through the sole of the right foot and draw it in towards the left knee. That will activate your inner thighs. And then for anyone who wants it, final thing here would be your right arm is in puppy dog pose, your left arm is threaded underneath. Great, coming back, walk it one step at a time. Crawl your hands all the way down to the back of the mat. Plant your left hand down and sweep up for a modified side plank. I'm going to change my facing so you can see, but basically you've just crawled all the way to the back to arrive in something like that. And then if you want it, there's that similar idea, because we really use this in compass pose. You could cactus through the right arm and sort of pull the shoulder blade back to the spine. It's a different thing than like really twisting your heart to the sky. It's more like I'm focusing on the shoulder blade, and as a result, the heart might move a little to the sky. Good. Put it down, walk the hands all the way back to the top, come forward there, and then let's pass through downward facing dog. Inhale, plank pose. Hey, we're doing plank next month, all of September. We'll get ready. Strong plank, strong core, strong arms. It's gonna be fun. I'm really excited. Exhale, touch your knees down, lower forward and hug the elbows in as you lower down. Inhale, baby cobra. Exhale, float the hands. Inhale, float the feet. And exhale, lower. Nice. Inhale, hands and knees. Exhale, Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. Really great. Let's go second side here. Lift the left leg. Keep it square to begin with. And you might even see, like, what happens if I lift up high onto the ball of my right foot here? What does that do for my left leg? And then just descend that right heel down to the point where the tension feels as though it's met an edge. Don't go past it, but also get curious about how you can step up to it. Really spin up with the inner thigh, push shoulders to ears. Deep breath in. And exhale, open up. You might peek underneath your left shoulder and remember that the shoulder blades are still sliding to the ears. That should help you in keeping your shoulders square to the earth. So not your right elbow twist, your right shoulder twisting under, but square and in line with the left. The heart, though, can twist. That's what makes a twist. Something has to stay square so that it can be twisted away from. Inhale, square off the legs. And exhale, step outside your left hand. Let me just adjust here. All right, good. So it's like a lizard pose setup, and then I lean off with the right hand, and it's almost like one of these guys. Like the core is wrapped, and I pull the left scapula closer and towards my spine. And so if the heart is twisting to the left, the hips are square to the ground, right? We give ourselves somewhere to twist from. Beautiful. Metacarpal's fingertips for sure of the right hand. And of course, if you need the right knee touched down, take that for yourself. Extend the arm up and over the ear. It would be one long line between that left arm and the left leg. You could envision it. And it can have an arc in it, but there's connectivity. Deep breath in. Prasara to Patatanas, wide-legged forward fold. So you place the left hand down, you crawl the hands to the right, and fold over wide legs. Maybe you liked the little pelvis turning exercise, the gentle tugging of the hamstring attachment to your ischial tuberosities. Those are your sits bones. And it's one of the first things that we have to do before we can take action. We have to develop awareness. And then after awareness, we develop understanding. And then we can finally move it into action. But like, you're not going to be able to take a cue like micro tuck your tailbone from your hamstring attachment until you've really felt your hamstring attachment at your sitting bones. So that's the invitation here. Of course, when you're ready, just really folding over the legs. If there's any headstanders in here, you may already have your legs up, and that's fine. I had a student at Mind, Body, Soul who was like a diehard headstander. It was like anytime we got to Prasara to Patatanas, she was already like taking her legs up. All right, so when you're ready, start to crawl the hands back towards the left leg. And what we're going to do here is come up to a high crescent lunge. And it's like all the way from rising up, I want you to feel that line of connectivity. If you could picture like you were a light bright or something, there'd be a line of color from your left sitting bone down your outer left leg to your outer left heel. And then you pull your two legs towards one another, and it might make your hips rise up a little bit. That's okay. Deep breath in. Exhale, let your hands frame the front foot. Let's stay here in a strong lunge. Back knee stays lifted if possible. Identify your left sitting bone and try to draw it closer to the center of the mat. Maybe there's even a baby micro tuck of that left sitting bone towards the left heel. And you get strong in your legs so you can become light in your fingertips. So if anybody feels as though they're at that point, you try to redistribute the weight exclusively to the feet as you let the fingertips become light. Deep breath in. And then Unjaneyasana, knee down. This should feel like a big, nice stretch. And you come into it how you want to. You may stay down on blocks. You may be here. I feel like it's always important for me to reiterate what your options are so that you know you can discern to choose the one that's right for you. Maybe there's even an energetic gratitude you could express to your hip flexors right now for all that they do for you, moving you about. Let's side bend, left hand outside of left hip. One more deep breath in. Exhale, round forward, and then stretch this leg. So I kind of back out of it. I notice that I'm really rounded to start. And since we're really working on activation here, and scapula and rhomboids are something that come into play in our compass pose. So I would, in this instance, try to get the length in your spine. Heart towards left toes and left toes back towards heart. Every breath you take in the yoga practice, it's for you. It's your gift to yourself, your gift to your body. There's so many different ways that we can think about ourself. Walk the hands to the right. So we're going to come first into our gate pose. Option 1, option 2, option 3. Or bent arms, puppy dog pose, looks more like that. It's almost like I've got a Cobra thing going on in the back. And then option 4, thread right arm under. You know, and it's so funny when I say something like that, there's so many ways we can think about ourselves and self-study and self-manifestation. It's one of the most important things the yoga practice gives us is the balancing agent so that that doesn't become egotistical. It totally changes the framework for how we think about the self. Self with a lowercase s versus self with a capital S, for example. So when there's something like self-study, it's evident in the word and it's inherent in the word or the phrase that you will get to know it better over time. So at the beginning of your self-study, there's stuff you don't know yet about yourself. And that's so beautiful to me. All right, come back. Replace your hands under your shoulders and then just continue the journey. I'm going to shift so you can see. You were like this. Da, 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 da. Boom and boom. Last little thing here, I think. And see how I'm in this sort of cactus version? It's so different than just cranking the heart. Like it's actually coming from the wingtip of my left scapula. And when you're ready, come down and just walk it all the way back to the top. Take your time because we're going to flow here. Plant your hands, step back. Inhale, rock the body forward, push the earth away. Let's be here for a breath or two. Try to lengthen through the back of your skull. That's such a thing I need to remember to do. It's helpful to know what your things are, because then you'll start to do them. Right? First, we build the awareness. Then we build the understanding of what it is. And then it manifests into action. Awareness, understanding, action. Good. Knees down, come forward, hug elbows in, push earth away while you lower down. Nice. Before you come up, move the shoulders to the ears, move them back in space, and then slide them down your back as you come up now. So that's the place for depression of the scapula. Once you've done the other two, up, back, down. Maybe you float hands. Good, lower. So frame the corner of your mat with your two hands. I just want to do a baby cobra to the side. As you pick up here, feel how you have to roll that left shoulder up and back to kind of squeeze that scapula in. Try to turn your heart to the right and lower. Nice. Let's go left. So like I really have to first roll my right shoulder to my ear, back in space, and then I lift. Because to me, it's really that right side body that I want to keep long. And exhale, lower. Walk to the center. And let's come into a child's pose for a couple of breaths. If you want, you can hinge at your elbows and dip a prayer back behind your neck. Good. Downward facing dog. Press the backs of your legs apart in your dog pose. And then, as best you can, grip your metacarpals and fingertips into the earth. Dial your hands outward slightly. And let that action move all the way up your arm bones. So feel how it rotates your biceps to the sky, and your shoulders are pushing to your ears. Utkatasana, forward fold, walk the feet to the top of the mat. Man, I cannot wait to take some yoga classes next week. I haven't taken a yoga class live. I did one acro yoga class in New Mexico. Man, it's been a long time. So think about what this pose is for you. Think about what you need out of your forward fold, and then try to give that to yourself. It might be something very energetic. It might be something mental. You can continue to witness and observe here how the other 8 limbs might come into play. Pranayama, for example, the breath practice. Is there a constant and consistent regulation of the breath as you move through your asana? And go ahead and slowly roll up if that feels okay in your back. If it doesn't, go through a half lift. Shoulders roll onto the back, up, back, and down, and arrive like that. I need to step into the screen. So just think of lengthening the sides of your neck and then moving them back, like almost like you're tucking your chin to your chest, giving yourself an extra chin. And maybe you don't want that. You're like, I don't feel attractive that way. It's okay. Just do it for a second to help pattern this. It could even help, like if you take your fingers and press the back of your head into your fingers. So you don't want these vertebrae to become compressed, right? See how we get compression that way? If I'm always jutting my neck forward, right? And I'm pretty expert at this. And then if I'm looking up, that's compression right there, right? Because we've created this. If I can just sort of stay lengthened and up and back, try to keep that in your Tadasana for a moment. Does it help if your shoulders roll up and back? Can you really feel like your throat is aligned over your pelvis? Good. Inhale, hips low, arms high, chair pose. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, plant the hands, step or float, chaturanga. Inhale, back bend of your choice. Exhale, hips up and back, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Step your right foot forward, spin the left heel down and rise up, warrior one. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, plank pose. Exhale, lower your way. Inhale, upward facing. Exhale, downward facing. Inhale, left foot steps through, right heel spins down, warrior one. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, plank. Exhale, lower your way. Beautiful. Inhale, back bend of choice. Exhale, Adho Mukha Svanasana, down dog, 5 breaths. Some of you probably remember that that's much more the pace I used to teach at Mind Body Soul. I was always like, 1 breath per pose, go, go, go. I think I've really slowed it down. Inhale, come high into the balls of your feet. And exhale, put a deep bend in your knees. Step or float forward. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold. Start the way we finish, or finish the way we started, hips low, arms high, chair pose. And then arrive back in that Tadasana. The one where your neck is in alignment, your chin is in alignment. Absorb it. Let it imprint on your consciousness. That's the thing about asana. It's the action. It's embodied. It's the manifestation. It's the part of the manifestation process that actually tangibly exists. Good. Utkatasana, chair pose. So I personally don't like tuck my tail here. I actually do the opposite. I arch my back and I activate those glutes and the hamstring attachment just to the degree that it starts to pull my tail, but I don't let my tail move. So that's the isometric engagement right there. You activate the muscles that would make the movement, but you don't let the movement happen. It means you're actually also activating the contrasting muscles. Once you can start to wrap your head around that, you find a lot of other places to do it in the practice. Push the backs of your heels apart. Good, full. Let's step back to table. We probably should keep this moving and get to our compass pose soon. But before we do that, I want to do some outer hip stuff. So move your right knee to the center. I'll mirror you. Right knee center, right? Boom. And then you can start to do one of these guys. And think of this knee, the bottom knee, pressing down and out to get a little more lift there. If you want, move the left hand center, open right arm out. And I'm twisting my heart towards the right and my hips towards the left. If anybody wants to lengthen out this leg. Decide how many more breaths you want to do and then commit to that. You can hear my voice. And come back. Woohoo! Child's pose. Nice, really nice. Outer hip muscles. Let's come back. Other side. So let's see, if I'm mirroring you, it's going to be right knee to the center. And left knee to the center. I just felt in my body immediately. It's like, no way, that's the side we just did. So if that ever happens where I say the wrong thing, just trust your body wisdom if you want. But it's the press down and out of this knee, which is also activating these abductors. That's the fascinating thing. You think it's these ones that are doing all the work, but actually you can recruit from these guys too. I've got something on my way there. Something like that. Feel how the scapula needs to be working? Your left scapula. Nice. Come down. If you're working towards that in any degree, you're a badass. Like, it's so cool to be cultivating strength like that. You know what I want to come to for our shoulders, you guys, is this, if you want to look. So I'm from child's pose. I start with my hands interlaced. I roll the weight forward onto the crown of my head, and I do shoulders to ears. You can actually bend the arms, shoulders to ears, back in space, and then lengthen out. So hopefully you just watch that. If you're watching the recording, you can rewind, watch it again. I'll just show once more, shoulders to ears, back in space, arms. So arms go to the degree that the shoulders are at. Shoulders don't go to the degree that the arms are at. If that makes any sense. If that's too much, simply come up to here. Great, looks great, Laura. Some of you will work the heels of the hands together. Last 3 breaths here. Okay. So come to your tabletop. There's just like one more thing I feel like I want to do here. So here in your tabletop, I don't know if you remember, but a big part of finding our compass pose is the anterior tilt that we worked on a couple weeks ago. So that's this one. That's our cow spine, more or less. And so I actually want to invite you to pigeon toe your knees a little bit, and then just feel if you can feel into that. And my reason is that I want you to feel the inner rotation of the leg and how that connects with the anterior tilt. And I guess you don't even have to pigeon toe the knees. I'm just saying heels slightly out. Okay, you can do the opposite if you want. And if you want, you could also swivel on the knees, because the thing is, posterior tilt is more associated with external rotation, and anterior tilt is more associated with internal rotation. I say that for some of you, if that eludes you, don't worry about it. But let's just come to standing really quick. And this will be the last thing that we do before we do the pose. We did this last week too. Remember this one? And when you bring the knee in, see if you can also arch the low back. Boom, boom. And it's almost like you're tucking, arching, tucking, arching, tucking, arching. Okay, try that on the other side. Arching when you're turning in, tucking when you're turning out. You can put one hand there to feel it. And I know it feels like we're kind of doing choreography here. Good, good. All right, so let's give it a go. I gotta say, this is the last class that I'll teach on compass pose here. And it's been quite a journey for me, being at an edge with something that I don't yet consider myself to be in mastery over. And that's not necessarily what I think a teacher needs, that a teacher needs to be in mastery over every single pose. It's hard, you'll be hard pressed to find a teacher like that. But rather someone who, this is at least my intention, I'm trying to understand this blueprint that yoga is offering us. And as I understand it and process it, I'm trying to put it back out almost as quickly as I can to just sort of see what holds water for other people here. And that's why I love the nature of the way we can do the Dharma talk in the beginning, hear from you all. So that's sort of how I see my role as a teacher. And we'll have to think about this, as I come into this posture that I'm not hugely proficient in yet. So action of the shoulder, boom, and then you got to pull back. I got to do that though, and I already feel this. See how this hip is lifted off the ground? So if I'm mirroring you, oh boy, it's left hand down. You could even go here first if you want, because this is going to be the hand that's supporting you. But the left hip is lifted up and it's already in that anterior tilt. I'm really trying to get compression here and hug this knee in. And then I need my shoulder to go on the journey of lifting up and pulling back. That actually really helps. Hey, I look pretty good. What's going on, Patrick? What's with the self-criticism? So yeah, you can see Laura there too. She's really got her face past her arm. And to me, the thing I feel I need more strength on, I'll just come out of this, is this, right? Boom, boom, to get that feeling. That's where she is. And I'm kind of here right now because of tightness, right? And this is where the yamas and the niyamas come into the practice. Ahimsa, to not be violent with oneself. As we take embodied action. To work in moderation so as not to harm ourselves. I can still feel the inward rotation of my right leg as well as the anterior tilt of that pelvis. And I should have said left because I'm mirroring you. Good, let's come out of this. Beautiful. If you need pause, try that again. Try that on your breath. Really go for the actions. Shoulder up, back, down, pelvis anterior tilt, and inward, this leg inwardly rotated. Let's come to the other side. So I kind of put this under first. Do you do that, Laura, or do you get there first? Oh, you use both hands. Is that what I'm seeing?
I actually kind of sling my leg over the shoulder and put that right hand out, and then I start to.
And do you feel, are you really feeling like anterior tilt, internal rotation? Or is that not something that you use?
I think I am.
Okay, cool. Just curious. Because I really feel that that helps me get my pelvis, like I'm doing that hey kind of thing with this hip. And then I'm really trying to internally rotate, but
yes,
change orientation again. But again, for me, it's still that openness across the chest. But I love what you said last week about really having all these things to kick into, like kicking into my hand, squeezing my thigh into my bottom arm. Okay, cool. So you could also see where a strap would help me really get my thing back here. And do you see how all the stuff we did earlier was trying to get us to that? So that's also me teaching from my body, which is the body that I'm going to be able to understand best. And so I love wrapping in some of these other thoughts. How are we doing on time? All right, let's twist our spine. So come down to your back when you're ready. First of all, really pat yourself on the back and just say great job for working towards something challenging. When you're ready, you can drop both your knees off to the left and cactus your arms. Let your gaze fall to the right. And if you want just a little pressure, take your left hand on top of your right knee. So on the outer edge of the right knee, and just press down slightly. I feel the tension in my right hip increase. I feel a little twist in my spine. I got a little crack there. If you want, you can press your right shoulder, right back shoulder into the earth. Whole right arm into the earth. And then reverse that. Let's come to the other side. Ooh, that feels good. So a few passive breaths here with the knees dropped off to one side, gaze dropped off to the other. Twists are really like wringing. You can imagine a wet washcloth, kind of getting the water out of it, you would really wring it tight. So I think I got you into the twist on the second side and I lost you connectivity wise, apologies. But I do have Shavasana planned for us after this. So as soon as you've given yourself those self-adjustments that we did in the twist on the first side, feel free to come back. If something happens where I do lose you again, have a good Shavasana, but hopefully it won't. And I'll be here to bring you back in about 5 minutes. So set yourself up here, however you need to be in Shavasana. And you could, if you'd like, think of Shavasana as really a doorway. a threshold of sorts into the next limb of the practice. So we're at the end of our asana routine, and we always conclude with Shavasana for a reason. Invitation to surrender to that reason now. Begin to deepen your breath. And in letting breath be the next point for your awareness to rest on, you naturally start to ground the next limb of the practice, pranayama. So you can move your fingers and toes and wrists and ankles, elbows and knees, hips and shoulders, until you make a little ball on one side or the other before pressing your way back up to your seated position. And since we're here and we've just done the asana practice, just have a minute of attention with the breath. It could be as simple as breathing in, taking a slight kumbhak or pause, and then breathing out. Kumbhak. In. Kumbhak. Out. Kumbhak. Just continue like this for another moment with awareness. Awareness of the synergy and the simultaneous nature of each of these limbs of the yoga practice. It's a map. It's a blueprint for orienting ourselves towards truth. When we know the true self, we're never lost. We might be venturing into new or unknown territory or moving through some difficult time, but we always know where we came from, as though there's a tethering to self, to source. So wherever you are, you can take your hands to heart center, and in any moment, remind yourself of that connection. It exists in all of us. And when we say namaste, we're recognizing just that. Namaste, yogis. Such a pleasure to be with you. It's true, it does make me feel less alone when I get to have these sessions with you, so thank you. How'd the compass poses go, Brigitte and Joanne?
Thank you so much.
Not for me. I tried. I tried.
Good, good.
But no, but it's good. You know, it's challenging. So, but I'm looking forward to plank. I love plank.
Those are going to be fun. That'll be all the
So-
different kinds, you know, low plank, side plank, reverse plank. We're going to have a lot of fun.
Joanne, so nice to see you.
Yeah, it's
And
good to see you.
I haven't forgotten about our walk. I'm just,